morning. Good morning. This is how ugly it is in the morning. I just wanted to kind of start this off with a little Prosecco that I got from my boss. Yeah, this is my pajamas. So thank you, Jane and Randy. Happy Easter wherever you are.
Just a little Secco, early in the morning. Beats a cup of coffee for starting off the day. So check it out. Here is all of our beautiful beef that's been cooking overnight. There's the winning pot, and then there's my pot. And we are going to take this right here. Stacy's got to get his rice going, so I'm going to shred my beef while he's making his rice. I'm just going to pull this out, and I've got a bowl underneath this colander, and I'm going to strain off all of my extra liquid. And the cilantro has pretty much cooked down, but the onions are still in pretty good pieces. Take a look at that. All the marrow out. The meat has fallen completely off the bone. The beautiful thing about the beef cooked this way is it is so beautifully and tenderly cooked that it shreds itself. So I'm going to show you a little shredding action here, and then I'm going to toss it to Stacy so he can get his rice going. Just pull against the grain of the meat.
I'm making Puerto Rican rice, and one of the key ingredients of Puerto Rican rice is making achote oil. Achote oil is made from annatto seeds. We'll get into the whole logistics of that in a different segment at a different time, but these are annatto seeds. And what these are going to do is I'm going to steep these at low heat in olive oil, a really good quality olive oil, on low heat. And they're just going to impart this really beautiful color, and they're just going to add, as Daisy says, beautiful sunshine quality to my rice. So I'm going to let these go really low. And then these are the other ingredients for my Puerto Rican rice. I'm going to use some of my sofrito in the oil in a pan. And I'm going to get that going with the rice when that's ready. I've got my own homemade stock here that I actually brought to heat, so this is warm. And some manzanilla olives, which are imperative, and capers. Woo! Capers. We love capers. That's the magic of the achote oil. As you can see, it's starting to bubble a little bit. And look at that beautiful, deep, rich red color. It's like saffron, and it'll do the same thing. Okay, so that's what you want to do with this. You see that beautiful color? I'm going to strain this out right into my pot that I'm going to actually cook my rice in. Wow, look at that beautiful color. And I know that seems like a lot of oil, but I'm actually making a lot of rice today. Alright, so you could hear this kind of crackling a little bit. I gotta tell you, I did put like a little drop or two of water in there to know when this is hot enough. Now that I hear this bubbling, I know it's ready. So what I'm going to do is take a little of my fresh homemade sofrito. I'm going to get it going in the achote oil. And I just want to cook the rawness out of the sofrito a little bit in the oil. You can really feel and smell the aromas of the garlic and the onions and the peppers and the cilantro blooming open in the oil. It's really, really wonderful. Alright, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to dump this rice in. I've got a lot of people coming over, and I actually like, I don't mind this heated up the next day or something. So I'm going to get this rice mixed up with the sofrito and the achote oil. Now that I've got this all incorporated in my pot, I'm going to bring this up to heat until the rice kernels get really chalky in appearance. That's how I know that the color is going to get locked into the rice as opposed to being diffused throughout the dish. I'll show you what that looks like when we get there. It'll just take a couple of minutes. So at this point, I'm going to add the good stuff. Some capers, the olives, some marinated pork. I used to do the straight traditional Spanish rice with the sauteed onions and the tomato sauce and the rice, but the first time I ever had Puerto Rican rice, I'll never go back. So I've got some of my own homemade stock. I'm gonna pour this in. Remember the rule from the adobo video. 2 fingers of liquid above the rice. I'm gonna bring this up to a light boil. I'm gonna cover it, reduce the heat, and simmer until all the moisture has absorbed in the rice. This should take about 20 to 25 minutes.
And remember this? This is my bowl of liquid that I strained off. That's all the cooking liquid plus the sauce that I put into the crock pot when I cooked the beef. So this is a combination of marrow and beef liquids and onion liquids, sauce, cilantro cooked down. I'm going to pour about a third of this off because if I use too much of it, the meat is going to get soggy when I introduce it into the liquid. The reason I do it this way is because all of those beautiful flavors that are in the cooking liquid, I want to infuse back into the beef.
Alright, so now I'm going to reduce this to a simmer. You can see what's going on in here. Put the lid on there, and I guess I'm ready to shred my beef. This is really kind of uneventful and it's not really all that exciting, but I am going to save these bones because I know I have a friend somewhere that's got a dog that's got to use these. Seems almost a waste to waste them.
What I'm doing here is I'm making a pool of enchilada sauce because we're setting this up assembly line style. And you want the sauce to be heated so that it properly softens the tortillas so that they roll easily and don't break apart. Oh. Again, it's all about the Las Palmas.
It's all about the El Pato. I've got a pan of hot olive oil here, which actually a Mexican woman would have used corn oil, I'm sure.
Or lard.
Or lard, thank you. And I've got my hot sauce here. So this is how I start mine. I'm going to put a ladle or 2 of sauce in the bottom of my pan. This is just going to prevent them from sticking. And I love juicy food. And I love juicy food. My process is going to be a little bit different. I've decided to do a stacked enchilada with corn tortillas just to have a little bit of variety. Again, because Michael's and mine's enchiladas are so similar. So I'm going to dip these in oil just to get them pliable. And I just used the pan that I made my achiote oil in. I didn't even rinse them out. So this is going to be assembled kind of like a lasagna.
Nice.
And I don't mind that I'm going to use this much oil. This is olive oil again, which should be categorized as a food in itself because it is. So we're doing a little bit of a communal assembly line. We're using the same cheese and the same olives. Mine differ from Michael's because I use fresh onions and cilantro in mine. So now that I've got my first layer down, I'm going to ladle a little bit of sauce over these tortillas. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's all going to go to the same place. And then what I like to do is take a little layer of the fresh onions and cilantro. I'm going to take a little bit of my shredded beef. Some black olives. A nice layer of cheese. I'm going to do another layer of tortillas, repeat the same thing, maybe 2 or 3 times depending upon how much room, and it's as simple as that.
Like Stacy said, making enchiladas is a messy, messy process. My fingers are probably going to be red-orange for the entire day. But I'm rolling mine as opposed to Stacy, who's doing a stacked enchilada. So this is what you do. You take a flour tortilla, as opposed to Stacy, who is using corn, and you put it in the sauce, you dip it in the pool, in the warm sauce. Out of the pool, onto the plate, and while I'm rolling that one, this tortilla is going to be getting ready for me. So this goes real fast. Beef, cheese, black olives. Take the tortilla, fold it over, roll it up, and into the pan she goes.
Hey, are you guys cooking with love?
Oh God, yes.
Oh my God, we're cooking with so much love right now. It's insane. There's so much love in these enchiladas. That's what makes them so tasty. That and the sauce. All right, so my enchiladas are rolled. I've got 2 pans, and I'm gonna take the sauce that I've been soaking them in, and I don't wanna waste any of this good Las Palmas sauce.
Ugh.
So we're just gonna pour it over, because you know what, here's the deal. Enchiladas, they are all about the sauce. And it doesn't really matter which one is your favorite, because your favorite is your favorite. But it's all about the sauce, and we want a lot of sauce. So you can see I've poured quite a bit, and we're gonna pour a little bit more. It's gonna get in between, through all the nooks and crannies.
That is heaven right there, man. Look at that.
Now you might be thinking, all that sauce, isn't it gonna make the tortillas soggy? Actually, they can handle it. They absorb a good and fair amount of the sauce without ever getting soggy. And now I'm just gonna top them off with a little cheese. Okay, a lot of cheese. You know what? I've still got just a little bit of sauce left in the pan here, and I don't wanna waste it. And honestly, this is what my mother would have done. Just poured a little bit more sauce right over the top.
Beautiful. That looks so yummy. This rice is so delicious. And normally if I was making just straight Spanish rice, I'd add a lot of salt. I add no salt to this because of the brine from the olives, and the capers will give you these great bites of salt. So this is perfect.
We have to get these in the oven, and we're going to slide it in the oven, but you know what? We're not really going to turn them on.
I'll do what Jason said. I'll just stand here and look pretty.
Yeah, it's your job to stand here and be pretty.
Well, you know, somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
You gotta diffuse
Heidi Klum was busy today.
I have to diffuse your ugly.
Okay.
Actually, there's no ugly.
There's no ugly here. Okay, so our guests are arriving in about 45 minutes to an hour, and it's time to get these pans of enchiladas in the oven. We've got the oven preheated to 350 degrees, and both of them are gonna go in at the same time. And Stacy, you're gonna put your cheese on after.
I got a little bit of a different deal I'm doing. Because I did a stack and my vessel wasn't as deep as I wanted it to be. As you could see, I've got a little mound going on there. I've got them on a baking sheet just to make sure nothing bubbles over. But I'm gonna put my cheese on in the last like maybe 10-15 minutes. After Michael's are done, I'm gonna blast the oven up, maybe another 50 degrees, put my cheese on, get that nice and bubbly.
Okay, so real quick, let's take our a minute to show you our shortcut to refried beans, and then Stacey's gonna get in the shower and I'm gonna show you how to make margaritas.
I normally boil my beans from dried beans and make them from scratch, but I knew I was going to be a little time crunched. So I'm using canned beans. But what I like to do is drain them off and rinse them off. The reason I like to rinse my beans off is I like to get that residual salt that they're packed in off. I refry my beans in bacon fat, and there's going to be plenty of salt there. So that's why I rinse mine. So I'm going to get some in here. I know this looks like a lot, but this is 3 cans of beans.
Years ago, I was eating Mexican food at one of Milwaukee's most famous Mexican eateries, Conejitos. It was the first time I'd been there, and I was there with my friend Todd Cantu. And I said, Todd, what do they do to their beans? They're so good. And he said, it's chorizo. And I was like, of course it is. So this is my refried beans. Of course you could use loose meat chorizo, I just happen to have the casing kind today. As the chorizo heats, it will soften and start to break up into big pieces and then eventually little tiny pieces. So we're going to wait for it to do that before we add the beans.
My fat is starting to smoke, so stand back and add the beans. In this bacon fat, I'm gonna let these beans come up to heat before I start to smash them down.
As you can see, the meat is just about there. See how it's sort of broken up into little bits? Within the next minute or two, those little bits are gonna start to release all their fat, and we want the fat to be released from the meat before we add the beans.
Meanwhile, I've started to smash my beans. I'm gonna smash about half of them. I'm gonna just barely break about the other half because I like a little texture in my beans. More bacon grease.
They are refried beans after all.
I'm just gonna put this right in the center and let that kind of melt into there.
1 pound, 13 ounces this? It's a 1 pound, 13 ounce can of black beans. I like to use black beans in mine. Liquid, all of it, right in the pot. And just like Stacy's, I like a lot of texture in my refried beans, so when I go to smash these after they come up to heat in about 3 or 4 minutes, I'm only gonna loosely smash them because I want some of it to be creamy, and I also want bits of broken beans. You can use a potato masher, a potato ricer, whatever handy tool you've got.
Okay, just because of like the real-time sake of it all, I'm gonna turn mine off and let them go. I'll bring them back up to heat when the guests start to arrive.
My rice, really, really simple. If you're not familiar with this brand, Vigo Rice, they do several different beans and rice combinations. This is the saffron yellow Spanish rice, and it's real tasty. So in a big skillet here, I've got several tablespoons of olive oil heated. I'm going to put the rice, along with the seasonings that come in the package, right in there, and I'm actually doing 2 of them. Let's get the other one open. Get it in here. I'm going to toss this around, and we're going to cook this just until the rice starts to toast. And to that rice, I'm going to add 4 cups of liquid. You could use water or stock. And then to that, I'm going to add about half of this big bag of frozen corn. I've got the heat blasting on this, and as soon as it comes back up to a boil, I'm going to turn it on to simmer and let it simmer for about 25 minutes until the rice is perfectly cooked, and then I'm going to fold in some chopped cilantro.
Fresh out of the shower.
Does this work?
Very much so.
A Mexican meal is not complete without the margaritas. I've got one more thing to do before I get in the shower and get ready for our guests, and that is make margaritas. Now, I have to tell you, restaurant margaritas typically too sweet for me. All that bar syrup and sour mix and corn syrup and crap. My margaritas have 3 ingredients: fresh squeezed lime juice, good grade tequila, and Cointreau. We have about 16 to 18 people coming today, and El Rey, our local Mexican grocery store, had a terrific deal on these limes. They were $13 for $1. So I bought $2 worth, which is 26 limes and 52 halves.
Nice.
And let me tell you something, the oven is blasting, the stove is going, I'm sweating like a pig, and it is literally a hot mess in this kitchen.
It's so nice to not be the only hot mess for a change.
Fresh squeezed lime goodness. Okay, to my fresh squeezed lime juice, about, I would say that's about half the limes, so that's about 13 limes. I'm going to add 1/3 of a bottle of Cointreau. And to the Cointreau and fresh squeezed lime juice, tequila. Oh, I don't know. I absolutely never measure, so I couldn't tell you how much this is to taste. I'm going to drop a few fresh slices of orange. What we're going to do is we're going to pour this over some ice, shake it up with the ice, and then pour it over for the perfect margarita. This is what the finished rice looks like. It has had 25 minutes to cook, and I have folded in some fresh chopped cilantro. I'm going to transfer it to the crock pot to keep it warm until we're ready to eat.
Bacon fat, bacon fat, bacon fat. This is my bacon fat, Dad.
Concept of the elevator, I love it. I could not get enough of it.
Shut up.
You guys hungry? Hungry! Yeah! Would you like another cocktail?
Probably.
What are you having?
I believe this would be a margarita.
Is the margarita delicious?
Best ever.
Who made the margaritas?
I don't know.
I did.
Oh, I didn't know that. Hello.
Happy Easter, Mr. Suarez.
Happy Easter, Mr. McKinley.
Are you hungry?
I'm starving.
Let's eat.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. Oh my God. Shirley Scorsese, are you hungry?
Oh my God, yes.
I haven't been around this many intellectual people in a long time. I should get out of the bars and have more house parties.
This is a Stacy plate, and then I'm gonna do a Michael plate.
Gee, I just couldn't live with myself if you didn't have to paint me out here.
Well, it's a good thing I shared my cigarettes with Stacy because I think Michael's the clear winner.
Ooh.
Grossly done.
So my cinematographer gets a chance to sit down and eat. How is everything, Sherry?
It's so mind-blowing. I mean, these beans and your
Yeah.
rice. What do you call it?
Stacy's rice? Stacy's rice is the Puerto Rican rice.
Yeah, and yours is the what?
It's that thing I do with rice.
Saffron.
It's saffron rice with cilantro and corn.
These are the best beans I've ever had in my life.
Thank you.
Can't go wrong with bacon.
So all of our guests are in the living room eating, and I have something to do for the first time ever. So Michael, tell me. Give me a synopsis before you serve yourself some food.
No, really, we should wrap this up in some kind of clever way, right?
Okay,
It's
well-
our first potluck segment for the blog. We should do something.
What?
Oh,
Something like this?
Here, do this.
Oh. Something like this? We look orange. We should come over here. We look orange, 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 we look orange. The red dot is on or off? Alright.
All right. First potluck in the can. Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter.
So now it's time for seconds. Gonna skip over that one and go to this one. And 2 scoops is essential.
So it'll be presents, good food.
Then moving on to passing over that one and going to the one with flavor.
Ooh, ouch.
Don't hesitate. Don't need a small piece. I've got room. Look at that. And last but not least, skipping over those, although Stacy's is much prettier, I tend to enjoy the flavor of Michael's. Yum.